I don't know. Would the third time be a charm for Antonio Brown? Fourth time, fifth time?
So little of a season left. You wonder if he could just hold on.
We could hold on through one game. He didn't even get to a game with the Raiders.
Listen, I think things are so haywire in Philly, I'd consider it.
I consider it. They need him.
You have to consider it.
They've had
lost your mind.
They've got no production from their wide receivers.
Exactly. And he'll stretch the field. Carson Wentz needs him out there right now.
Well, so did Tom Brady. And how did that work out for Tom Brady? All he had to do was, if he could make it work,
Tom Brady and Belichick wanted to keep him.
Yeah.
They wanted to keep him, and Robert Kraft said no.
And it didn't even work.
Well, I mean, listen, if he's not suspended by the league, he's going to be on a team next year. And if he gets it resolved earlier, he could be on a team this year. If you're telling me teams that could use him that are still alive for the postseason, man, I would say Philly is maybe at the top of that list.
And why not choose the end of the season and see if it worked and see if you would want to sign him long-term for next year? So
I say if a team doesn't sign him this season, he's not going to get signed next season. No, if they can't use him for the stretch run, you all disagree with me on Des Bryant too, and he's still not playing.
Completely different points in their career.
And by the way, Des Bryant did get signed.
Yeah, and then hurt himself. Now no one else has signed him.
Yeah, because he popped. Okay, because he popped his Achilles. I agree with you, Jenna. If Antonio Brown, after signing, suffers a devastating year-long injury,
then I'll be right.
Change his career.
Then I will.
And by the way, I'm not pro Antonio Brown. Guy's a maniac. But the Steelers, the Eagles obviously could use him. And by the way, maybe he still has a home in Pennsylvania, just across state, Philadelphia.
That's true. All right, let's get back to last night's big game, Monday Night Football. This one from down in Mexico City. We picked this one up in the third. Chiefs, Chargers, Patty Mahomes finding his tight end Travis Kelce for the 23-yard touchdown.
That's the only highlight we need to show.
7 catches, 92 yards for Kelce. 23 seconds left to play. Chargers with a chance to tie the game. Phillip Rivers looking for Austin Eckler. It's picked off. His 4th interception of the night. 14th on the season for Phillip Rivers, trailing only Jameis Winston in that category. Chiefs defense coming up big on a night. Their offense looked kind of small. Nick Wright, you more or less confident in the Chiefs after last night's win?
You can't be more confident, or I can't be more confident. This is a team that a couple weeks ago I said I still believe is going to win the Super Bowl. And
still feel that way?
I still believe they can, but their last 2 weeks... last week, they played better. They just invented a way to lose at the end of the game. But at least you said, okay, listen, who are the Chiefs going to be? A team that is going to be a dynamic offense, hold on for dear life and on defense, particularly if the opposing team has a great running game. So Tennessee's a tough matchup in that regard because Derrick Henry can run for 200 yards as he nearly did against Kansas City. Last night, to me, was a little more concerning even in victory because the defense, especially in the second half, did its job. The defense, the Chargers had the ball 4 times, down 7 points. And twice the Chiefs defense forced a punt. Twice they got a Phillip Rivers interception. But the reason they had all those opportunities is because the offense, and this to me lies more on Andy Reid than anyone else, the situational play calling in the 4-minute offense was much like the Titans game, non-existent. And if the Chiefs are going to go on a playoff run, it's going to be because not their defense gets a huge stop at the end of a game, but their offense prevents their defense from having to go on the field at the end of the game by getting multiple first downs and running out the clock. They were not able to do that last night, and that to me is far more concerning than Patrick Mahomes having his worst game of the year. Patrick Mahomes is the most talented player in football. You cannot convince me otherwise. He just had his first bad game of the season. That's an outlier event to me, but the offense's inability to prevent the Chargers from getting chance after chance, that was concerning because that's what happened at the end of the Titans game.
It's definitely less concerning, especially with Tyreek Hill going out. That is what makes the Chiefs go. Andy Reid offenses always have to have that deep threat. If they don't have the deep threat, they're not going to produce on offense. And what's the most concerning thing is they're not running the football this year. They always have a running back in stable who can break the home run or at least get a 15-yard game here and there, and the offense just seems like it's wide open and you can't stop them. Damian Williams, he's banged up. Shaden McCoy has too many mouths. So Andy Reid is dealing with a weak running game right now. He doesn't have his home run threat. The defense, they looked okay because they're playing Phillip Rivers, who threw 7 interceptions in 2 games. I mean, once they play a quarterback who's not going to turn the ball over, it's going to be definitely concerning for this offense and this team. If you get 4 turnovers, and you have Patrick Mahomes, you should win by more than 7 points.
Yeah.
And that's the concerning thing about me. When you play a team with a great defense, a team that's not going to turn the ball over, and you can't get it going because Tyreek Hill isn't stretching the field, and you can't get a run game going, I mean, I'm looking at a first-round loss, if you ask me, with these tough playoff teams in the AFC.
I agree. I agree. I am literally less confident now in the Chiefs than I've ever been in the Chiefs, simply because offensively, when I look at them, they look different. They're not this unstoppable offense that we saw last year that can put up uber numbers. And then when you look at them defensively, they still have the same struggles. They can't stop the run. They're up and down in the pass game. You said it best yourself. When you've had 3 turnovers, not including the last play of the game, when you've had 3 turnovers and you have Patrick Mahomes and you have that type of offense, you would expect for them to have put up more points, and you would expect to be leading by more.
Yeah,
and so for them to have been put in that situation and they created 3 turnovers and then a 4th to seal the game, it's not promising. I'm not excited about this Chiefs team, and I'm not confident in this Chiefs team.
Just real quick to follow up on that. Here is where I'm at right now with the Chiefs heading into their bye week. And they will play, I believe the Raiders are going to win this week, and they have the Jets, I think. So it'll be 7-4 Raiders against 7-4 Kansas City, where Kansas City can essentially salt away the division in a couple weeks, because if they win, because they already beat the Raiders once. The Chiefs, I still believe, and I think the schedule proves it out, can beat anybody. The Chiefs, with all their issues, did beat Baltimore. With all their issues, beat Minnesota. With all their issues without Patrick Mahomes, were right there against Green Bay until a fumble late in the game ruined that game for him. But games like yesterday show, to your point, they also can be beaten by anybody. The Chargers are not good, and the Chargers could have won last night's game even after the first 3 turnovers. If they score a touchdown at the end there, I think they're going for 2 to try to win the game, and I have no faith in the Chiefs' ability to stop a 2-yard run. And that speaks to the first-round exit part of it. If the Chiefs win the division, but they don't get a bye, which right now it looks like they wouldn't, and they are facing the Bills or the Colts team who's already beaten them, or a Texans team who's already beaten them, a team that's just going to say, we're going to run it down your throat, would it be shocking if they're 1-0 in the postseason? No. Now, I also don't think it'd be shocking if they end up going to Baltimore and or New England and beating those teams, because the Chiefs' A game is still as good as anybody's in football, but they have shown the variance between their best game and their worst game is as big as any of the good teams in the league right now.
I think the Chargers left the Chiefs off the hook last night for not. When Tyreek Hill went out the game, you run man coverage. You have a stud in Casey Hayward. Run man across the board and blitz Patty Mahomes. And they didn't do that. They let Patrick Mahomes hit Kelsey in zones, hit the receivers in zones, where it's just like you're giving them passes and letting them get in rhythm. You have to suffocate these receivers and just send the house. And he wasn't having an off game. As you said, make them make tight throws last night. They gave these guys so many touchdown throws and so many key first down throws for just not adjusting when Tyreek Hill went out the field.
Well, Chargers have a number of issues, and it's going to start with their quarterback. 4 picks last night, 7 over the last 2 games, 14 this season. He's trailing only Jameis Winston in interceptions. Is it time for the Chargers to move on from 37, soon-to-be 38-year-old Philip Rivers?
They were smart not giving him a contract extension. The only old quarterback, Breeze didn't get a real extension. Brady didn't get a real extension. Eli didn't. Rivers didn't. The only one who did is Big Ben, and then his elbow popped, and which is why the Steelers might be stuck. It's clearly over for Philip Rivers. I mean, you played with him, and I always wondered what it would be like to be a teammate of Philip Rivers, because it's very, very rarely is anything his fault. It's a lot of yelling, a lot of whining, a lot of pointing and screaming at people. And in years past, that's okay, because he was the best player on their offense year after year after year. He looks like a quarterback who in year 16 probably should look, which is a very limited quarterback at this point, who I don't know if the Chargers will have the stuff. If he wants to come back, and I would imagine he does, he's got damn near a dozen kids. He still can be like, I think he still wants to work. But if he does want to come back, I don't know if the Chargers will have the stomach to move on from him, but they absolutely should. Like, if Cam Newton's available, especially the Chargers trying to get a foothold in L.A. as far as the market share with the Rams, Cam Newton would be a great star as far as star quality to bring in, but I don't look at Phillip Rivers anymore as an above-average quarterback in the NFL.
I have to disagree. I think it's Phillip Rivers mentally, what he's doing on the field, that's putting the Chargers in a hole. I think he still have the tools to drive the ball downfield, but it's his decision-making. He's trying to force every throw, and that's what's hurting their team. And you mentioned Cam Newton. That would be a great guy to come in, but I just don't think the Chargers will want to make that move right now. With me putting my GM hat on right now, what I'll do if I was Anthony Lynn, I'll tell the head coach, mention in the press conference, hey, Tua's out for the rest of the year. Mention that you would love to have this guy on your roster. I know he's going to be out for the whole season. He can't work out for the combine, but that'd be a guy that you can bring in, sign Phillip Rivers for 2 years, and just tell him, hold him accountable. You can't turn the ball over. I have Tua waiting in the wings, and that's still star power coming to L.A.
Like Rivers waited in the wings when Drew Brees.
With Drew Brees, I do the same exact thing.
But that would be a lot of guessing and maneuvering and shaking for them, the Chargers at this year, to be able to get Tua next year.
Yeah, you got to get rid of Phillip Rivers. You got to let him go. And there's no time like